All right, today we're going to talk about a pretty huge shift in how we actually build things with AI. It's not just about talking to a model anymore, it's about becoming the architect of its entire thought process. And that, right there, is context engineering.
So, it all kicks off with this really powerful analogy from AI researcher Andrej Karpathy. He said, the LLM is the CPU, and the context window is the RAM. Just let that sink in for a second. This single idea completely reframes how we should be thinking about these models. And honestly, it's the key to everything we're about to get into.
So what does that actually mean? Well, if the large language model is the super powerful processor, the CPU, then the context window is its short-term memory. It's the RAM. It is the active workspace where all the real thinking happens. And just like your computer, that RAM is useless until you load it with the right information for the CPU to work on. And guess what? That's our job. And that brings us right to the craft of context engineering. I think a great way to think about it is it's the art and science of creating the perfect, most detailed instruction manual you can imagine for an AI, telling it exactly what it needs to know to perform a task and to do it flawlessly. Okay, so let's look at the official definition. The key word here is system. This isn't about writing one clever prompt and calling it a day. Now, this is a whole process. It's about giving the LLM the right info, structuring it in the right format, and delivering it at precisely the right time, all so it can nail a specific and usually pretty complex task. Let's just break that down into 3 simple steps. First, you have to feed it all the necessary data. Not too much, not too little. Second, you've got to structure that data so the AI can actually make sense of it, nice and easy. And third, you have to deliver that info at the exact moment it's needed. This is how you strategically pack that context window, that AI RAM we were talking about. Now you're probably thinking, okay, hang on, isn't this just a fancy way of saying prompt engineering? And look, that's a totally fair question, but it's really more of an evolution. It's the next level up in how we communicate with these systems. And that distinction, well, it's absolutely crucial. And just to be super clear, context engineering doesn't replace prompt engineering, not at all. It actually builds on top of it. You still need really well-crafted prompts inside the system, but it totally elevates the goal. You're not just trying to get a good answer to one question anymore. You're building a robust, standalone AI application that can handle tons of interactions all by itself. This table here really breaks it down nicely. So, prompt engineering, that's like having a direct chat. You ask about running shoes, you get an answer. You ask a follow-up, it's a back and forth. Context engineering, on the other hand, is about building the entire automated customer service agent. That agent needs a complete instruction manual right from the start. It's got to know the store's return policy, the inventory, how to deal with an angry customer, all without you standing there to guide it. So, here's the simplest way to put it. Prompt engineering is like talking. Context engineering, that's like coding. And I don't just mean that as a metaphor. Seriously, a context engineer's prompt often looks more like a program, using things like XML tags and Markdown to structure all the information with absolute machine-readable clarity. And this shift from just having a conversation to actually coding instructions, that's what lets us make the leap from simple chatbots to truly autonomous AI agents. We're talking about systems that can handle complex jobs all on their own, with no human in the loop.
So why? Why does this difference really matter so much? I mean, why go through all the trouble of coding a context when just talking to the AI seems so much easier?
The answer is actually really simple, but it's also kind of profound. An autonomous agent doesn't have a person sitting there to guide it. There is no back and forth. You can't just refine your request on the fly. The system needs all of its instructions up front, and it has to anticipate every possible curveball before it even gets started.
Just think about what this makes possible. A customer service agent that can solve a really complex problem without having to escalate to a human. Or a sales assistant that can figure out what a customer needs and guide them to the right product. Or get this, an AI agent that can write and debug its own code. None of these things can just stop and ask for help. They have to be built with a mastery of context engineering from the get-go.
So really, what this all represents is a huge shift in how we have to think. We need to move on from being simple users of AI and start becoming its architects, designing the very framework of how it thinks.
Which brings us right back to that core idea we started with. The LLM is the CPU. That raw processing power is already there. But to build the truly mind-blowing applications of tomorrow, we have to become absolute masters of its RAM. We have to become expert context engineers. And that leaves us with one final, really exciting thought. If LLMs truly are the new CPUs, and we're only just now learning how to master their RAM, what in the world are we about to build next?